to Training for Leadville. My name is Mark, and I'm your host of the show. I'm 188 days out of the Leadville 100-mile trail race that takes place this August 2020. This weekend, I was supposed to run the Marin 50-miler, and the race didn't happen. It was canceled like a lot of other events. The race was supposed to take place in Marin, California. It was a 50-mile trail race or 50-kilometer trail race of between 6,500 and 10,500 feet of climbing. Unfortunately, like I said, the race was canceled. But in reality, my friends and I had opted not to go to the race anyway. About 24 hours before the race was canceled, we made the decision not to get on the plane, not to go to California because of the coronavirus that's going around right now. And we didn't want to either catch it or spread it. So we made the decision, we were trying to be responsible, made the decision not to get on the plane and go. Again, 24 hours later, the race was canceled anyway. Now, for me personally, it was probably a good thing, and I'll get into that in a moment. But first off, I'd like to say that my heart goes out to the race directors who put these things on. They put blood, sweat, and tears and a lot of money into scheduling these races. They make sure that we as runners and athletes get an opportunity to enjoy ourselves, to create great successful periods in our lives by making these incredible achievements of running ultra marathons. And they do it in such a way that we have fun, they create community, it's safe, and they put 6 or 8 months of work at least into each of these races. To see it canceled is obviously not what they want. And the promoters of the Marin Ultra Challenge did a really good job with ongoing communication, responding to emails, and then making the right decision when it was time to cancel the race. So I really appreciate that. And I'm sure that they'll do the right thing by the runners next year when it comes time to put on another race. Anyway, with that aside, I wasn't having a good run up to this race, as a matter of fact. I did pretty well in the Black Canyon race about a month ago, but I went into that race with an injury. I had some hip injuries going on, and I was seeing a physical therapist once or twice a week to deal with those hip injuries. After Black Canyon, I had a knee injury, and it was probably from tripping, it was probably from some uneven surfaces, but it got progressively worse week on week. My physical therapist said that it could be one of a couple of things, either a pulled hamstring, a tie-in to someplace in the shin, potentially bursitis, or worst case scenario, torn meniscus. I continued to run until one day I was doing a 15-miler on Saturday, followed up by a 15-miler on Sunday. The 15 on Sunday felt terrible. 3 miles into it, I was just hurting, and I could tell that I was not only hurting my right knee, which was the injured knee, but also hurting my left knee because I think my gait was off. Either way, at about 7.5 miles into that 15-mile run, I called it quits and told my coach that it went pretty badly. She knows me. She knows that I'm going to run if I can, and I'm going to run usually if I can't, and she decided to tell me to take a week off of running altogether. That was hard. That was really, really hard to take a week off running with a race coming up or with several races coming up. I knew that she was right, but that was a really difficult week for me. I was in a climate that I could have run. I could have done some hills. It would have been beautiful, but I couldn't. I sat in a gym. I used the rowing machine. I did the exercise bike. I did some PT. I did a lot of PT, and I came back from that trip a little bit better. I took another week of ramping back up, and then I got it seen to again by a physician. It turns out, good news, it was bursitis. It is bursitis, and I'm getting over it now, or I'm recovering from it. I'm doing the physical therapy that I'm supposed to do, and it's feeling better. My physician actually said that I could go and do the race if I wanted to, and that it wouldn't cause any long-term damage. So I was greenlit to do the race. I had made the determination that I was going to drop down from the 50-miler to the 50K, and then ultimately, like I said, we decided not to do the race overall. So I want to talk about 3 things today. The first was injury and recovery. I kind of just covered that. The reality is listening to my coach, listening to my doctor, listening to my physical therapist, they were all the right things to do. I hated doing all of it. I hated taking time off. I hated doing physical therapy. I still hate doing physical therapy, but I know it's the right thing to do. And I know it was the right advice that I got. And that's why we surround ourselves by experts and people who will tell us that we're being idiots when we want to just go back out and run. The second thing I want to talk about is mindset for training for a new race. And the third is why we run. So in terms of the mindset for training for a new race, I think a lot of other people have probably had their races canceled. I know I'm not the only one. I think all of my friends have had a marathon, an ultra, or even a 10K canceled. And that's tough. That just sucks. And we have to think about, what we're training for. a friend of mine who I was running with on Saturday, this past Saturday's run, she was saying that she was training for a half marathon. She was going for a PR and she's had a really good training block, and she's really disappointed now that she can't go out and run that race. She was a couple miles into the run when I was running with her, and I asked her how many she had left, and she says, I don't know, whatever. I'm not really training for anything anymore. And then we started talking, and I can sympathize with that. We talked for a little while about what her goal was, what her long-term goals are, at least the season's goals are. And the place that we got to was getting regrounded, getting back to that sort of zero place where you can say, all right, I'm training for this for myself, not for a medal, not to go on Athlinks and have my results posted. I started running because it makes me feel good. I started running because I enjoy it. I started running because I want some sort of self-satisfaction and achievement that I otherwise can't get unless I push myself. The fact that we can post on Facebook that we have a PR or that we have 40 or 50 friends that follow us on Strava really doesn't make that much of a difference. Our friends want to see us do well. There's no question about that. They want us to strive. They want us to succeed. But they kind of don't care if it's in a race or otherwise. And I think it's important for us to keep that in mind, that we might not have that motivation for a race, but we can still have the dedication that we had before as runners. I had a chance to listen to a podcast a few weeks ago. It was the Trail Runner Nation podcast, and they talked about that topic specifically of dedication versus motivation. Motivation is when you have that one thing that you're striving for. It's a race, it's a specific goal that you want to get to, and it maybe has a start and a stop. The dedication is something that you do day in and day out. It's waking up early every single day. It's making sure that you never miss the right kind of meal. It's making sure that you don't miss a run or a workout if you feel up to it, if you're not injured. It's making sure that you take time off when you're injured and dedicate to your recovery. And I think that's what we can all do right now when we have this little bit of off time between races. It's rededicating as opposed to remotivating. It's making sure that we do the right thing day in and day out. It's making sure that we run for ourselves, not for some sort of external motivation. And that's what I plan to do now as well. I don't know if my next race in May is going to go on or not. It's called the TARC 50 miler in Massachusetts. It may go on, it may be canceled, but I'm going to train as if it's going to happen. I don't know if the Leadville 50 miler will happen. I don't know if the Leadville 100 will, but I damn sure want to be ready for it if they do. And the last thing is why we run. I've got to say, it was nice getting out with my running group. It was a small running group on Saturday, and I think that that's permitted in the whole social distancing thing, and I think that being 3 to 6 feet apart is okay. I really am taking that seriously because the last thing I want to do is get sick or get anyone else sick. So we all took that really seriously. Nobody's shaking hands, nobody's high-fiving, and we're all trying to be respectful of keeping everyone safe and healthy. But it was good getting out and being able to run with a few people because I'm not going into the office right now. I'm not traveling for work. And in general, I'm not seeing a lot of people outside of Lisa and, Murphy. And Murphy's not actually a person. So it's really nice to get out with my running group and see them in as much as we can continue doing that. This reminds me of something that was in Born to Run, the book. It's that we don't run to beat each other, like in races or anything else, but we run to be with each other. And there was no better example of that as on Saturday, when a lot of us really hadn't had a lot of human interaction for a couple of days outside of a video conference call or, a web conference. The idea of being able to be around some people, go out for a run, get a couple miles in, and just, talk about world's events was really, really nice. I hope that we'll be able to continue doing that, but it really reminds me of why I started running in the first place. It's a great community. It's a great way to feel healthy. It's a great way to push yourself and be successful at something that's hard. And I really enjoy that about running, and I enjoy that about my running group. So I know I'm going to continue training. I know that it's going to be difficult in some of these to do some of these races. I know that a lot of them are going to be canceled. But it's going to be important for me to continue to refocus on the next task at hand. Whether that might be training for a 50 that I have in May, or the one after that, or Leadville, or whatever it is. But regardless of what it is, I'm going to keep getting out there, either out there or on a rower, on the bike, on a treadmill, whatever I can do to make sure that I continue to push forward. So with that, I want to thank everyone for joining. I want to thank everybody for your questions that you've had. If you like this video, please click the like button, maybe subscribe. I'm probably going to do a lot more of these videos, but I'm going to keep them a lot shorter. I don't know if I'm going to be able to film them when I'm out running or just do them from here at home. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have about mindset, about training, about my recovery, and maybe even in one of these future episodes, I'll show you the exercises that my physical therapist, who actually is qualified to go over these exercises, told me to do for my recovery. So with that, I want to tell you, stay safe, stay healthy, take care of each other, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks so much.